Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earthlings? What up?
Any demographic I identify with.
They're connected to our president.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
Crazy what he did. He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians. Who does that?
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something.
he done about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis, and I am with that philosophical stone, Craig Lindo, and the antagonist, Mo Laffey. On today's show, we will talk about the ending of the Trump era, maybe, the commanders getting skinned, and the way of integrity. We hope to give you something to ponder.
Listening to
Gentlemen, happy Monday football, Monday night football. What is on your mind?
Right now, currently,
Share it.
my fantasy football team. I'm trying to figure out how many points I need to get from these boys on the field.
Talk your truth.
With my game.
Hey, whatever's on your heart, my brother.
Talk
share
your
it.
truth.
I'm just telling you exactly what I'm
you
thinking about. Right?
what you looking at? What's the scenario?
I need a big game for Miles Sanders, but when Philly got down to the goal line, it was good to see they had him on the sideline and Boston Scott was in.
Touche. How about you, Brother Lindo? What's on your mind?
Man, I hate to sound like a grumpy old man. However, I'm trying to reestablish some kind of workout routine, dog. And I just want to find that me that was crazy enough to do 2-a-days way back in the day to get 1-a-day out now. I'd be just so happy to tap into 60% of that man. That's all I need.
How long ago was the 2? How long ago?
I'll do miracles with that.
How long ago was the 2-a-day?
Well, that's we're talking over a decade at this point.
Okay.
You ain't doing no damn 2-a-days no more, I'll tell you that.
No.
But he said 60%.
I tap into the 2-a-day energy to get 1-a-day out.
60% of the 2-a-day. All right, so
you should do every other day.
All right, so let your boys help you out. What is the roadblock? What is in the way between you and your 60%?
I think I'm trying to figure that out right now. Whatever it is, it's mental. Like I'll be to the point that I'll literally wake up with enough time to get to where I need to get to, have clothes already put to the side.
And it don't happen.
Get up, go out there, eat an egg and watch and get some sports news or a podcast. Like it's here. Clothes be ready. I'm awake on time. And somehow just like, I admit the sense of urgency might be lost on like half vain reasons.
Okay. Well, you got a source, right? You got at least you have some insight to the source of the block.
But I need to get my ass out there and do something, man. Like especially if nothing else for my posture, I don't want to age with that hunching point guard posture. Like I don't want it. If nothing else, I got to get out there just to fight that. But yeah, that's what's on my mind, dog. It's totally vain.
Okay. All right, well, it is. Mo got his fantasy. You got your workout and your 60%. So for me, I actually want to shift the tone a little bit. We'll come back around, but condolences to those 3 UVA football players: Lavelle Davis, Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler. Still a lot to learn about what transpired, but we talk a lot about guns, violence, and unfortunate outcomes that take place. So condolences to their family.
I got a question on that.
May them brothers rest in peace. Go ahead.
They showed a picture and dropped a name. Is that guy one of their teammates potentially?
My understanding, he's a former teammate. Don't know the status. Was he a student, not a student? They went on I guess college still do field trips, but they had gone on a trip. They'd come back, violence ensued. I don't know if the perpetrator was on the trip, if I don't know the details.
Yeah.
What I do know is these 3 young men are gone. And one
It's
had
so
played in the
horrible.
game. One had just played in their last game. So condolences to them. Condolences to their family, and may they rest in peace. And also, a little closer to home, the pilots and crew killed in the Dallas Air Show collision this past Saturday. Again, a lot of information unknown, but people who were once here putting on the show are no longer here. So condolences to their family, and may they too rest in peace. All right, so we're going to hop into headliners. Last week was November 8th. Is the Trump era reaching its conclusion? And I'll start with you, Mo. What are your thoughts?
It depends on whether Trump is going to be the next candidate for the Republican Party, but no, I mean, he's still I guess what I want to say is candidates still matter, Carlton. You can't just put any bullshit candidate out there and just hope they're going to win. Like, they thought like they could put a bunch of Marjorie Taylor Greens out there and they were going to just steamroll these states, and that's not what happened. Clearly, a lot of Republicans voted for Democratic senators, because if you look in these states where the Republicans thought they could get the senators, the governors are Republican. Mm-hmm. Kemp crushed Stacey Abrams in Georgia, but Warnock beat Herschel Walker, but he didn't get to the 50%, so it's going to go to a runoff. But that's a big difference between what Kemp did to Abrams and what Warnock was able to do against Walker. So a lot of these Republicans just couldn't get down on some of these, I don't know, for lack of a better term, loony candidates that the Republican Party presented this cycle. But, it looks like the Republicans, you're talking about it's the Trump era over, but they look like they're going to win the House.
True that. And
like
I asked I don't, from my vantage point, I am not suggesting that it is over. The pundits, the discussion is out there. And based on at least how the Senate went, candidates that he supported, people who talk his rhetoric, they lost. So is it indicative of his power, of his influence waning? Today, I say probably not. I think we'll learn a lot in the next 2 years, what DeSantis, or DeSanctimonious, as Trump refers to him, decides to do. We'll see how that dynamic plays out. But I know a lot of joy, if not relief, on the Democratic side. There's still things Biden might be able to get done. A lot still going to fall on him. Trump is not gone for sure, but, maybe there's reason to hope. What you think, Craig?
As far as Trump being done versus over, I can't say done.
Well, tell us the difference first. What's the difference between done and over?
He can't come back to any sort of power. Done
That's
means
over.
that there's no chance for him to come back to the level of power at minimum that he once knew.
That's done. Okay. All right.
Right?
So you don't think he could become president again?
I can't say he's done. I can't say there's no chance of him becoming president again right now. I can't say that. That would be done for me, right?
So he
to
can
say
return
that he
to
can't
some kind
run
of
for
the
president.
same power he once had?
Huh?
So he could possibly return to the same power that he once had.
I'm saying it's not totally off the table yet. I think, okay, as far as over or done or being politically dead, I think politically speaking, his life signs have taken a hit. Like his political pulse, his political heart rate is, and the neurons firing in his head politically. I think for the first time, the neurons are firing a little bit of fear. He's trying to see, oh, damn, I might have effed up at this point, right? I might have mucked it up at this point. He's trying to, I think certain things are causing him to make decisions from more of a reactive space, and his fan base or his non-fan base, I don't think either group is used to seeing him move like that, right? His general image is aggressor, not reactive, right? That's the image, right?
Sure.
Part of the, and it plays into the most recent last couple of decades Republican mystique, pseudo bravado, which you could kind of see as false since nobody has the cojones to stand up to him. But I think his political life signs have taken a hit, but they're not out of the range of political resuscitation.
Yeah, that's blah, blah, blah. Yes. If
That's
nothing
how I feel.
else, if nothing else, whatever it is today, whatever we're hoping for between now and in the next 2 years, at any point, it can be resuscitated. So clap on that one. That I hadn't
It's not
quite
out of
pondered
range.
that.
Like
I hadn't
somebody could
quite
still
pondered that.
politically come in and yell, clear, and boom, bitch, I'm back. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Do you have any thoughts, reaction to that, Mo?
No, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think, Carlton, like, the bigger issue is not like Trump or whatever. It's like, I don't know, 5 states voted to remove slavery out of did you see this? Out of their constitutions?
I hadn't. No.
yes.
So they left it to the people. They left it to the people. And in 4 states, the people, well, the majority of the people, or
Enough.
the majority of the people voted to remove slavery out of their state's constitution. So clap for that. But like in some of these states, Carlton, that voted to remove it, there was like 400,000 people that still voted like yes for slavery in their constitutions. In Louisiana, they voted yes to keep it. 6 out of 10 people in Louisiana voted yes to keep slavery.
I don't want.
Stayed in their state's constitution.
It's horrible.
Like, it's not a Trump problem, Carlton. It's the same problem it's always fucking been. Excuse my language. It's a racism problem. It's a fucking systematic racism problem. Trump is just a puppet of that system. And he just like infiltrated politics and kind of was just saying out loud what they do behind closed doors. So that's the real issue. Like when you look, like there's a state in America just voted to keep slavery in their constitution. Like 6 out of the 10 people that lived in that state were like, yeah, that's what I want. That's
America.
what I think should stay in our state constitution.
America.
That'll be live. It's not a Trump thing. It's a racism thing. That's the problem.
That's more than fair. That's more than fair. Craig, you smiling. What say you?
Yeah, he represents it, like, but just like that boil on your skin that represents something else that you got to lance off, you got to laser off this dude at some point. Right now, why I say it's not out of range of resuscitation is because there's so many ways that their party or that party, however you want to articulate it, can go, right? They could go to a direction where they start competing so hard they cannibalize themselves and so busy infighting that it kind of helps the Democrats out, right? The more organized party will get it in that outcome. And I definitely co-sign on the candidate quality. I am insulted to my core. I am insulted that you paraded out Herschel Walker and thought that he was somebody that what? You paraded out and you let him speak. You let him speak.
If Herschel
If you'd have
Walker,
paraded him out and just put up highlights and numbers and told him to shut up, you'd have had a better chance. But you let him speak. I am so insulted that whoever was a decision maker in that region or realm or level of that party said, hey, we could win over Black people with this guy.
Trump.
You tried my whole set.
Trump picked Herschel Walker.
Tried that, but
You're
nobody
wrong,
thought
Craig.
that? Nobody in the room heard him speak and said, no.
That's what I'm saying. That's Trump's vote. If Herschel Walker can spell Herschel, I'll vote for him.
Well, so, but
if he
okay.
can spell Herschel, I'll vote for him.
So let's sit with that for a second. Right? I hear both of y'all loud and clear.
Look, I've had
Trump,
students that can't spell their whole name. That's a different kind of pain.
Trump chose Herschel Walker, but Lindsey Graham was crying on television about Herschel Walker. So however it goes, the party is circling the wagons around Herschel Walker. He is of them. And so when we talk about racism being at the core of it all in the past, present, and for the foreseeable future, what does Herschel Walker say about the systemic racism that we know exists, even though he's a Black candidate that the whole party is galvanizing around in order to push forward?
You want me first or you going first, Mo?
Mo went first last time. You go ahead, Craig.
It shows me exactly how out of touch the party is.
Okay.
Period. I don't mind going first. How much you say? Like, every once in a while, like, I think in certain ways they were exposed for being out of touch on different levels in this last week here. And I do co-sign on Mo's argument earlier about candidate quality again. I think this is evidence supporting poor candidate quality, poor candidate choice. And I think candidate selection and projection and elevation is a direct result of how in touch you are, not just with your base, but with the people, because your base might not represent the majority in general, which you will need in the long run to win shit.
Okay. What say you, Mo?
Dog, oh, breaking news. Katie Hobbs, I can't find it on the internet, but allegedly Katie Hobbs, the Democratic governor candidate, has won that in Arizona. Dog, Arizona's really changing to a blue state here.
Somebody hit me on that the other day. They were like, yo, California is been experiencing a mass migration for some years now. And a lot of one of the places where their residents have been going is Arizona. And, you know, California got a lot of blue history. So that could be a part of that, I think.
They're coming to Austin too, driving the housing prices up. Go ahead,
back
Mo.
to like what Craig was saying about Herschel Walker. I
Insulting.
get what you're saying about like the poor quality of candidate, because I agree with Craig. It's like, come on, like, how can you vote for Herschel? No, like, I understand how they vote for their other candidates, but how can you vote for Herschel Walker? Herschel Walker, right, berates Black men for being deadbeat dads. Guess what Herschel Walker is? He's a deadbeat dad.
Epitome. Epitome.
Oh, I'm getting excited.
Gold standard.
Yeah.
Herschel
Cool off.
tells you we've got to keep criminals off our streets. This is a man that is a known wife beater that has put pistols to people's heads. Then he tells you he's for the police, and he's on record saying he wants to have a shootout with the police. And then you got clowns giving him honorary badges, and he's walking around flashing it like he's a real cop. Like, no, but Craig, he's like a clown candidate, but of the Emperor's he made it all the way to a runoff. He has a chance to be a United States. If Herschel Walker makes it to the United States Senate, I'll pay pay-per-view dollars to watch him read bills on the Senate floor. To watch him read bills on the Senate. Pay-per-view dollars to watch him read bills on the Senate floor.
So coming
Herschel
back to
Walker is a disgrace. An absolute disgrace.
If I come back to the points that you both made about the quality of the candidates, right? Clearly, we're not even talking Democrats. We said it before, Democrats got some issues. They may still mess this whole thing up. We may not talk about them on tonight's show, but we'll come back around to the Democratic Party. That being said, if these are the people that the Republicans are pushing forward as their candidates, and the quality of these candidates are so low, is that indicative of a movement fading? Because if this is the best you got and this is all you can move forward, is that the energy behind that movement, we say it's not about Trump, but whatever that energy is, whatever that drive is it a sign that it might be fading?
I'm not I'm not sure you can just run on the idea of the election got stolen from Trump, and that's going to motivate people to want to vote for you, especially when people like the Republicans had everything set up for them to absolutely crush the Democrats in this election.
Yes.
Inflation is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Gasoline skyrocketed at one point this year. Like,
yes,
everything was set up for them to take advantage of this and just steamroll the Democrats and take over the House and the Senate. But somehow they messed it up. And they messed it up because they ran what in my personal opinion, not speaking for the entire show, what I would consider to be candidates that are lunatics. And even normal Republicans are not just going to vote for these crazy people because they realize it's irresponsible to let Herschel Walker possibly have a vote as to whether or not one day, I don't know, we use a nuclear weapon. Should Herschel Walker be making these decisions? No, he should not. No, he shouldn't.
Look,
So
man, look.
I don't necessarily think it was that. Because let me ask you this, Carlton. Here's the real question. This is my answer to you. Is Trump the next presidential candidate for the Republican Party?
Okay. My
Because
answer.
if the answer to that question is yes, then the influence hasn't waned. Because I think Trump is the next candidate for the Republican Party.
I can hope not. What's been interesting, I have not seen, I don't know the status of the January 6th hearings and what they were wanting to do with that. I thought they were supposed to have come back to us with, more details, if not more hearings in September. So, that was one thing I was kind of, waiting on to see how that might come to fruition. Still got time, so let's see. I think it's a valid question because what is DeSantis going to do? I think he, clearly he's doing how he wants in the state of Florida, but him under scrutiny on the national stage with everybody watching him, everybody critiquing him and analyzing his moves and all of his actions. Let's see how he stands up to that because I believe as it stands today, he's going to run again. Now, if you ask me him versus Trump, I would definitely tell you that Trump is more comical. He's more entertaining to me. I think DeSantis is definitely he's a bigger
that's what
threat.
You should always
he's a
look
bigger
for
threat.
In your presidential
he's
candidate.
a bigger threat to democracy. So if I were given a choice, Trump or DeSantis, that's a tough one. As I sit today, I would probably say out of the two, at least, like I say, Trump. I get where Trump is going. I feel like I understand his psyche. I don't want him as my president, but I feel like I see I see him for who he is. DeSantis, I feel like is a dangerous dude. I don't think he's smart. I don't think he's talented. I don't think he's capable, but I think there's another energy. There's a more sinister component to what drives him. So I think in that scenario, we'll be up the creek. We'll be up Boo Boo's Creek without a paddle if it's out of the one or the two of them. But I hear you. I hear you loud and clear because Trump is running, DeSantis is running. Who's going to go up against those two? So it would have to be some legal issue that would keep Trump from running and or becoming president. But then that just gives us DeSantis. So I hear you. I hear where you're going. What you say?
That's kind of like a second alley-oop to toss back to something I mentioned earlier about them cannibalizing themselves. Like between DeSantis, Trump with his issues, and other people that are seeing the chinks in the armor that are going to try and make their move. They might not be as serious or strong right now, but whatever. They might see the opportunity and go for it. What in terms of the DeSantis versus Trump comparison, for me, they're two guys that are at different stages in the same card game. Trump might have just overplayed his hand and is just realizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think DeSantis is in a place in the card game where he could potentially overplay his hand on the next move. Like, if he tries to go for it in 24, I don't think he'll get it. I don't even think he'll help his party by going for it in 24. because the more divided they are, the more the other side is benefited, right? And especially if he goes for it as a lead on the ticket, I don't think he could carry it in 24. So like he might overrate himself if he tries to go in 24. I think he might have to do a little bit more before he goes. He might have to defer till 28. So I think if he goes to 24, he might overplay his hand. But I would also tell you, as a Florida resident, even though we have just as a nation experienced the red drizzle as opposed to the red wave, do not underestimate or undervalue the cunning skills and deal making that is near enough to Ron DeSantis.
Nah, touche.
As somebody that lives here, I'm just gonna say that.
Touche.
I wouldn't sleep on the possibility, and Trump shouldn't sleep on this possibility either, that DeSantis could beat him out for the nomination for the in the Republican primaries. He's got big money in the bank. He's got a lot of big money Republican donors that much rather would have him than Trump.
Yeah, and there's
because
and
some
of them
people
probably used to
some
rock
people
with Trump,
don't
but they
want
stick
their
a stench on his name
politicians to be comical for the reason why Carlton likes Trump when he's around. But I agree with Carlton. DeSantis, in my opinion, is a dangerous man. Is a very dangerous man. He's turned
I'm agreeing
Florida.
with that.
He's turned Florida into Mississippi, and he does have visions of the White House, and he does have these crazy nationalistic ideas that in my opinion, I agree with Carlton, are dangerous.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Do you think he could do it in 24, especially lead a ticket?
Who's running for the Democratic Party is
Biden,
Uncle
baby.
Joe? Huh?
Well, Biden said on the last week in one of his interviews, maybe talking about the election results, posed the question, what is he going to do? He said he and his wife will take some time between Thanksgiving and Christmas to make a decision. As I heard him say it, my response was no, 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 no. But more than likely, his answer will be yes, that he will be running again.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say this. Like, we should all say this, you know what I'm saying? Like, God willing to see the next day. But especially for Sleepy Joe, like, he needs to be like, God willing, I might be running for president the next time around. You know what I'm saying?
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah. So that's for everyone. That's first. But dog, come on. If it's Joe Biden against Donald Trump, round 2, how pathetic are we as a country that these are the two candidates that we're putting out there? But now, if you're Joe Biden, though, and you know, I've been very critical of Joe. I've been very critical of Joe. But he has got some shit accomplished here recently. So we got to give him some credit, like when he does some shit that's actually beneficial. So
round of applause.
We'll get into that another time. But for a president that's sitting there with his approval rating and the inflation rate the way it is, and all of the things that were going against him, this election was a huge win. Oh my God.
Oh, he happy. Joe happy.
Happy. Oh, Dr. Jill
Sleepy
Biden.
Sleepy Joe perked up a little bit. He's happy.
Oh, Jill is a happy woman tonight. Dr. Jill Biden is a happy woman after these midterms. So I hope it's not Joe again, but
we'll see. And maybe we'll talk about that.
Who would be the other candidate for the Democrats? Like, who would it be?
Kamala.
Dog, how crazy would it be if she ran in the primary against Joe? Like, she just stepped down as his vice president to run against him.
That's another one. I feel like if she gonna do it at all, it's more strategic for her to wait a little longer. Wait till after she's out, her time with Joe is done.
What about a scenario if Biden say he don't do it and then he puts his support behind her? What would your responses be to that?
I can't project that in advance. Like, I don't have any loyalty to either gang.
Okay. All right. No, I got you. You've said that. That's fair.
I don't know, man. Like, the country, in my opinion, is just as much sexist as it is racist. I have a hard time seeing the
Okay.
majority of the country going out and voting for a female president. A lot of females don't think a female has the
Exit polls speak
gumption,
volumes.
the
You're right.
gumption or whatever you want to call it to be a president. Because I've talked to females that have said that, and I wholeheartedly disagree, but I just don't see it. Like, look at Hillary. Hillary lost to a horrible candidate in Donald Trump. So I think a lot of that had to do with her being a woman, because a lot of people just can't envision, a lot of men in the country are very sexist. They just can't envision the leader of the nation being a female, because they're worried about idiotic things like, oh, will she be able to press the button if she needs to press the button? Like,
well, look,
I worry for any female
I
candidate.
like, I agree, but as usual, like I do have a little angle on it, right? Like, marketing wins. We saw it in more than one election. If you could, even if it's not true, if you could get your message out the best and win over the most hearts, or you know what I'm saying, or win over the most minds, maybe even create enough division on the other side so that you get an advantage on your side. Like, yeah, I agree she lost to a horrible candidate, but that candidate came in with.
I mean, she made mistakes too. Now she made
She did.
mistakes.
Oh, she didn't run a good campaign.
She made big mistakes.
They did, like, and I think maybe they wanted. There's a part of me that was like, you know what? It's not that she wasn't not that she's not a qualified candidate. Part of it might have been like they didn't do a very good job of presenting her. There's another part of me that was like, well, one of those, maybe that shouldn't have been the candidate that they put forward to cancel out the extreme that is Donald Trump. They played it too safe, right? If you were trying to cut, you needed a different card. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
they thought it was a joke. They thought it was a layup.
Yeah, they thought it was, that they thought it was a fast break, wide open by itself.
No, that's ridiculous. Yeah, but I'm saying that's ridiculous. We are underestimating how, honestly, most people, if you deal with 10 people in a day, 8.5 of them are intellectually lazy, fam. I cannot say this enough.
Well,
that's Craig's nice way of telling you that most people are dumb.
Yeah.
Well, so
I said what I said.
A perspective, right? I think you said it a few minutes ago, Mo. At the core, it's not about Trump. It's about systemic racism, and right under that, there's systemic sexism, and probably right under that, a whole bunch of other discriminatory ideas, thoughts, a whole bunch of other isms. And so, in my mind, to know that it's systemic, I do believe there is a connection on both sides. There's the yin yang. The Republican side, they're more of that yang, that push, that I in your face. But then the Democrat Party kind of receives it, allows them to do it, doesn't seem to think critically enough around the realities of how people might be voting, don't seem to think critically enough about the quality of the candidates that they put forward. If you got a Trump, why would you respond with, Biden? Get somebody who's as spicy, somebody capable, and it exists. So I think, and we'll continue to talk about it, on our show, but I think at the core is the racism. So let me flip for a second, right? We talk election, we talk politics, we talk racism. Let's talk about Black people for a little bit. So Takeoff, member of Migos, buried last week, murdered the week before. When I see that, that's not Martin's dream. And I know, and you two may have different perspectives on the term, on the phrase Black on Black crime, but what I see is the same people who the three of us are on this show representing, the same people who we are, the people who we are and want to see treated equally, want to see, we have different perspectives on how that should occur, but we're fighting for Black people. We're living for Black people. Yet and still, Black people don't, as a collective, aren't showing that same love for self for each other. It's ridiculous that rappers can't live. It's ridiculous that Chicago, Liberty City, sections Houston, that's where Takeoff was murdered. It's what are we doing to ourselves in addition to what the country is also doing to us? Everybody marched for George Floyd when the police officer had his knee on his neck. We're up in arms when somebody else does us harm. But what about when we're harming ourselves? And I'll open that up to either of you.
Run it, Mos.
I'll speak to a greater problem in a second, but yeah, like Carlton's right. Like, we got to hold each other accountable, more accountable than this. We should be as mad at the people that kill us, that are us, as we are when the police do it. And like, he's 28. Like, he's 28. He's got millions of dollars, young Black man. He's made it in terms of how you define success in terms of monetary means. He's made it. And now he's just gone. And for what? And the shooter will eventually get caught and they'll spend the rest of their life in jail. And that's 2 Black lives lost. Just like that. And the greater problem here, Carlton, is the guns. It's the damn guns. Like, this country has way too many damn guns. It's way too easy to get a gun. Any asshole can get a gun. Everybody knows where you could get a gun. It's like, Doc, getting a gun is just as easy as like getting a soft drink in America. And it's like, people are fighting for less stringent laws for guns as we see more schools get shot up, as we see more senseless violence in impoverished neighborhoods.
You had the 3 football players on University of Virginia's campus.
And we have no idea why the shooter did what he did, but he probably got his feelings hurt for some reason. But like, when your feelings are hurt and you're angry and you want to take it out, and it's just so easy to go get a gun, dog, and anyone will sell you a gun. Like, they're never gonna change these gun laws. It doesn't matter how many people die. As long as the NRA puts money in their pockets, as long as the people that are for gun rights keep putting money in their pockets, they don't value your damn life. They just don't. They'll put their money and this Second Amendment crap above your right to live. Like, not. Do I think you have a right to own a gun to protect your home? Sure, I'm with you, man. You can get a pistol, protect your home. But like, this idea that you need an assault rifle, for example, to protect your home, that to me is crazy. Like, no normal citizen needs an assault rifle. I'm not against you having a gun, but let's be reasonable. And let's put more stringent means on people's ability to get guns. Like, it's too simple right now.
Let me preface by saying there's a detail to spirit space ratio going on with me right now, right? Like, as far as the amount of details of this incident that I was able to absorb versus the amount of spirit space I have for it, there's a ratio to that. So it's not one of them things that when it happened, I went searching for details, what they saying on the blogs, what they saying on Twitter, and and what they saying on the Reddits, and I don't have the space to pursue details, especially details surrounding something this dark right now. Where I'm at in my life, I can't do it. Right?
Okay.
So I open with that. But from what I've gathered, I'll say, hey, all loss of life, any loss of life, even though, yes, philosophically, stoically speaking, death is a part of life, the end of life. It's promised to everyone. It's still unfortunate, sad, tragic, and painful, right?
Right.
R.I.P. I'll speak more to the loss of life, and I hope that they find closure. I'm not one of the cats that, like, you could open any device. I don't have much to speak on it also because if you could open any device of mine, I don't have any Migos songs on any of them. So my connection to the whole thing's also a little bit different. I'm not trying to sound cold. I'm just being, that's what it is. So RIP for the loss of life.
All right. Ask a question, get an answer. You know, I just think it's unfortunate. For me, I grew up, was prevalent around, if prevalent's not the word. It was too much, but, you know, it was there. Aunt house got shot up. Cousins get into a fight at a high school party. My aunt's house gets shot up. I was 13 years old, good friend murdered because he got into a fight about a remote control car. And then my aunt's house, that happened before I was the age of 10. So, you know, two, you know, very close to me situations happened before I was 13. But I thought that too would stop. I thought somehow, you know, the things that we learned vis-a-vis boys in the hood, the things that we were talking about, the consciousness that existed in the music that we were evolving into. I just thought we knew enough to not let it be that. But at this juncture, and it may be the ease of which we get guns, it's just so casual, you know, because in the Takeoff situation, there were multiple shooters. There was bullets flying, and there was a lot of people around there just like trying to have a good time. You know, Takeoff, I don't know his whole backstory,
Really tells you
but
something.
he liked to play dice, you know, and I feel like you should be able to play dice if that's your jam. So I just, again, optimistically, yeah, I pray for a day when this isn't what we're dealing with. But Mo's point, it's too easy to do. My inability to deal with our emotions, our inability to deal with stressors, we're all looking for out. And if your life is such that you can't see the forest from the trees when it comes to your own existence, you're going to care even less about somebody else's existence. And so at the point of receiving that offense, if it's easy to do, people are doing it. And so, you know, I would love to see counselors and therapists and life coaches thrown at the problem as well. But that don't matter if I could just walk to the corner store, get me a donut and a shotgun. You know, it's going to be what it's going to be.
That
All right,
hyperbole is charming.
Before we take a break, just shout out to the producer. He said, as we were talking politics and candidates, what about Michelle Obama? Before we go to break, any of you got a reaction or response to the former First Lady?
Michelle Obama runs, I don't think DeSantis or Trump are going to want to run. But I think Michelle Obama doesn't want that shit.
Who would? But what
saying?
say you, Greg?
I think it's them acknowledging that candidates with a little bit of swagger / social pull, clout, gravitas. I think in that respect, it would show the value in recognizing that. But I still say in the same breath that it would not be a slam dunk. It wouldn't even be close to a slam dunk. I think competitive is the ceiling on that one. I think the floor would scare the hell out of most people.
I think for her, she would be like, you know, I'm the one that posed the argument about the sexism and I struggle to see it, but her charisma is just overwhelming. And I think that would carry the day for her if she chose to run. Like, I think
enough to win a majority.
Yeah, I think she would win.
Enough to win. Okay. Yeah, I think I would welcome a change to the candidate pool overall, and even just the logic on both sides. As an independent, I have to research every single issue because I can't go by party lines because neither one is my gang. Like I said, I have not been initiated, jumped in. I have not paid any dues towards either one of these sets or cliques. I have nothing to do with none of that. But what I I just feel like
Craig is a Lindsey Graham Republican. Don't listen to him.
I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Can you break that down for me? I have no idea what it
No,
means.
you don't want to know it.
You're an in the closet Republican.
Oh, I do. Look, I got some red tie tendencies, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie. There's certain issues. I'm like, I listen to my people. I'm like, all right, cool.
I mean, but I think that's
okay. Right now.
okay.
You're gonna be mad if you exit poll me.
That's okay. If vote what you feel, it's not one side isn't more or less right than the other. It's different. My thing, and not to say that any previous era of Republican or Democrat was better for Black people, but at least there was intellect. At least there was a patriotism for, if nothing else, the best entry of the country on the global stage. What I see now is just shenanigans on top of more shenanigans, with more shenanigans and waiting to come out. Your Boberts, your Ted Cruz's, Texas reelected Abbott. Like, I don't think.
What
on the red
boys
side
have to do in Texas to show these people they don't give a crap about them before they stop reelecting them?
I never thought Beto was the best candidate, in terms of just his presence and his ability to lead. Great guy, heart's in the right place, all of that stuff. He's passionate. But whatever he isn't, it far surpasses what Abbott is. Yet, it was another race that wasn't close.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, dog.
But that goes back to what I'm saying. Marketing matters, man. You're selling the candidate to the people. You're selling the candidate to the people. They gotta buy it. They buying the image. Once you see that people are willing to go pay $200, $300, $400 for something that it costs $20 to make, you could get them.
Yeah. All right. On that, we'll take a break and be right back. Wherever we are, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like, if it's something to be liked, subscribe, if it's something to be subscribed to, and follow. That's how we grow our reach. It's how we grow our brand. Welcome back to Unsolicited Genius. Thank you for joining us once again. Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll be here. Join us live. As you're participating with us now, just know we go live, so it's as raw as it's going to get. You see us, the ins and outs and what have you. We'll clean it up, reproduce. It'll be back on YouTube. It'll be on Apple. It'll be on Spotify and wherever else your podcasts are found. So Unsolicited Genius, raw, uncut when we do it live, but we make sure it stays sweet when we push it out. All right. What in the sports, gentlemen? Lots is talked about. Basketball's going, football's going. Last week, we gave you, our little breakdown of all the NFL teams. Come back to some of that stuff as we talk. But I decided or felt the need, predicated on the elections, predicated on sexism, as we talked in the first segment of the show. The culture of the Washington Commanders, suffice to say, sucks. Should the team be sold? I'll start with you, Mo.
I mean, the team should be sold, and it would be a punishment because, it's two things, man. He gets to sell the team and make billions of dollars. It's like, this is the punishment when you're a white guy in America that's filthy rich, right? The punishment is you have to sell your team and make billions of dollars. But I do agree it's a punishment in the sense that he doesn't want to sell the team, and people of his ilk don't want to be forced to do anything. which leads to his behavior and his rationale and thinking that he could get away with his behavior. Carlton, the bigger issue here is, you think Daniel Snyder's the only owner that's acting in this manner in the NFL? There's a reason why that report didn't come out. The only thing that came out is the part on John Gruden, which is amazing to me. But what does Daniel Snyder know about the rest of the owners in the NFL? And how far is the NFL willing to go in order to silence him? Who knows? Like,
well, we know how far they're willing to go because there's a civil suit now. Is it the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. that's bringing forth a suit against the Commanders, which includes Snyder, your boy, Goodell, and the NFL as a whole. So clearly, in their investigation, where they went deep enough to find all of Gruden's business, who, by the way, has a suit, or at least at one point had a suit going against, all, these entities that we're talking about. They went deep enough to call him out, to cost him his job, but they didn't go deep enough to show basically the cold hard facts of what Daniel Snyder not only oversaw, he facilitated, perpetuated, and participated. So what I hadn't thought about, to your point, is if they go after him, how might that pull in some of these other owners? Because once they get his emails, NFC East, he be chatting with your boy Jerry up the street from me here in Dallas. I'm not a big fan of the owners for the Giants. They won't even interview a black coach. And so, who knows the strings that are attached to Snyder? But to your point, maybe he just rats them out. Craig, you have thoughts?
I agree with the whole sell the team part. All right. But as far as the culture change that people want to see in some of these organizations, and particularly that one, look, if you are a bad game, looking at probably players, a bad season, you're looking at the coach, a bad decade. Come on, bro. And how long has it been? Like it's on you now. Amongst other things, and we see where culture wins, right? Where even if the locker room is not perfect, they do a good enough job of keeping it in-house, how to handle and finding ways to address and sort issues or not develop malicious, malignant habit. You know what I'm saying? In their locker room and spaces,
Craig,
and decision making,
Greg, a fight in the locker room is some shit you keep in house. I'm with you, dog. Like, that's some shit you keep in house. Like the Draymond Green shit that happened with Jordan Poole, that camera, whoever leaked that shouldn't have leaked that. That shit should have been some shit they handled in house. I agree with you. But what Daniel Snyder and the Commanders are doing is criminal activity. It is criminal activity what they're engaging in.
You have to remove the cancer.
Yes, and Craig, the other point about this that I want to point out is the hypocrisy of the NFL.
Chemo, laser.
We must protect the shield at all costs. Don't ruin the integrity of the shield. All of this, right? But
branding
Robert
again.
Kraft goes out and gets happy endings.
Down the street from me.
He doesn't get punished for that because he's Goodell's boy. Daniel Snyder is an awful human being who's damn near criminal. And they ran a sham investigation, Carlton, where Daniel Snyder had veto power at the end of the investigation to decide what came out and what didn't come out. Like, what kind of investigation is that?
An NFL-led investigation.
That's
where they do that at.
Private sector versus public sector.
Yeah, it's insane. That's like crazy. So Daniel Snyder, awful. Just terrible. And he gets a slap on the wrist like Craig was saying, but Deshaun Watson has to sit out last year. He has to sit out the first 12 weeks of this season. He gets to be the fall for all of this. Meanwhile, the owners are acting in a crazy manner, and there's no punishment. And you know why there's no punishment? Because they're Roger Goodell's boss. You don't get to punish your bosses. That's not how it works. So this shit about the integrity of the Shield and everyone must hold it to the highest of standards. The owners don't. The owners don't have to hold it to any standard. They could do whatever. Jerry Jones has illegitimate kids that he's paying that so they don't say that he's their dad. I think Jerry Jones. I don't know if you fellas agree with me, but I think Jerry Jones was having weird threesomes with Tony Romo. That's strange. I do.
Yes.
I do.
That is not a unsolicited genius fact, but proceed.
No, but if we could get, if Tony Romo or Jerry Jones are listening, I would love for you to come on the show. I would ask you this question.
Oh, we would love to have them on the show.
Oh, I'd love to.
We would love to have
more
them on the
Jerry
show.
Jones and Tony Romo.
I would love to have Jerry
if you're
Jones on the
listening,
show.
Jerry Jones, we'd love to have you on the show.
Please, please, please.
That is wild out. That's the question you'd have for Jerry Jones, bro?
I'd also ask him if he thought like he was a racist.
You'll start talking about Dak.
All right, so
I'm good friends with Herschel Walker.
You know, I guess for me, it's indicative of our country. It's corporate America, right? Because I think both of you made valid points about the dynamics in the locker room, the dynamics on the field. It's almost like it's a separate entity. And as I've come to understand or hear more from the commanders, the employees of the Commanders, it's very much a company. It's very much a corporation. And these are people who love what they do. Unfortunately, the job, you know, the place that hired them, the place that they applied, the place that they thought would be, you know, that place of, you know, professional sustainment with the Commanders just has a horrific corporate culture. But because the larger entity that is the NFL, that also includes the like-minded, the friends, the peers, the colleagues of Daniel Snyder, they're going to do what they can do to continue to do how they want to do it. Now, I think it may have gone to the point where it's just too much, too big of a boo-boo stain that, you know, Daniel Snyder be allowed to keep the team or however it plays out. But I think it's just indicative of our politics, indicative of systemic isms that the Commanders represent. And it's just unfolding in ways that we otherwise would not have been privy to had this investigation not occurred. And how many other teams are doing the same thing?
The problem for Daniel Snyder is not his conduct. They're not mad at his conduct. They're mad that he got caught. And now it's in the limelight. And there's congressional hearings. And there's civil lawsuits. And there's attorney generals involved. That's the fucking problem, Carlton. It's not that he was harassing women or giving them pro quid pro, like whatever that is, options, you know, do this
quid
for
pro
that.
quo.
That, you know, what Trump does with other countries to get dirt on other political candidates. But that's the problem, Carlton. It's that he's got them enthralled in this crazy shit, and they're looking around and they're like, we want nothing to do with this. You know what the NFL does when they, like, Doc, in St. Louis, they kept fighting St. Louis's lawsuit because St. Louis, the city, sued them for the team leaving to go to LA, right? And they kept fighting it. When the NFL finally realized that they weren't going to win and it was going to go to trial, and in the trial, they would have to open their books to the public for everyone to see their books. You know what they did? They settled $700 million. No problem. They'd rather pay that money than to let you see how the sausage is made, essentially.
That's what Sunday Ticket is for. That's easy. That's easy money.
If Daniel Snyder is endangering their ability to make money, or he's endangering the secrecy of their secret society, Daniel Snyder's going to wake up with a horse's head in his bed until he sells this damn team, because they're going to want him
you
out.
and Godfather.
Yeah.
You had something to add on, Craig?
Yeah, I think it's a very much one of those things. The energy could be summarized by hey yo, chill out, bro. You're making the block hot. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
exactly
Like
what it is.
they looking at him like,
Mhm.
yo, you know, do what you do, but now that you getting caught or you're getting jammed up, people are like, oh well, if it's happening there, what's
Mhm.
happening elsewhere?
I
And I
just said
think
that, right?
numerous, huh?
I was saying I just said that, right? That's what it's gonna do.
Yeah, like that's that. So they're like, yo, you making a block hot, man, chill out.
Someone didn't tell the Washington Commanders that it was supposed to be a bloodbath. They're up 17-14, going for more points.
I love it. I love
Perfect,
it.
perfect transition, Uncle Mo. We missed you last week. We went down the list of all that was happening with the team. Shout out to the New York Giants. Little bitty baby shout out to the Miami Dolphins. I am impressed, but while since we got you back, how you feeling about the NFL season so far? What's your synopsis? What's on your mind?
So, all right. So if you're asking me who I think is a legit contender, obviously I think the Eagles are contenders in the NFC. Like clearly, I think the Eagles are contenders. Hurts, his improvement is impressive. Their offense, the addition of AJ Brown has taken them to another level because he's just
fantasy team. Thank you.
Yeah, he's just beastly out there. So, the Eagles definitely in the NFC. To me, and truth be told, you see the hat. I am a 49ers fan. I think the San Francisco 49ers are the second best team in the NFC. I know Carlton is excited about his Giants as well. He should be.
Which don't hurt my feelings, but speak your truth.
Brian
Dable, coach of the century. Coach of the century.
Even though he won't even win Coach of the Year because if the Eagles continue down this path, I believe they're
Jeff
coach
Saturday,
to win Coach of the Year.
I was gonna give it to
Jeff
Pete Carroll,
Saturday
if not Dable. I was Saturday won. I was gonna give it to Pete Carroll.
He's going on a wing streak for the rest of the year. Y'all gonna be mad.
Well, Sirianno is undefeated, so I don't think anyone predicted that for the Eagles. So I think the Niners are the second best team. The Giants, very impressive, like I said. But do I see the Giants as a legitimate contender to win the Super Bowl? I just don't see that. I look at Seattle, like a team like Seattle. I look at the 49ers.
You think Seattle's a contender?
I mean, if we're talking about the Giants, I don't think Seattle – I don't see a game where the Giants beat Seattle, whether the game is in New York or in Seattle. So, the Giants are a real feel-good story, but I don't think anybody's intimidated about going to play.
Well, who's the bigger feel-good story out of the two, the Giants or the Seahawks?
Like no one. No,
who's a bigger feel-good story?
Are more of a feel-good story to me because
the Giants as a team, but for Geno Smith
for the Giants. Yeah. No one could have
feel good for Geno Smith, right? But the Seahawks, they've been there. They've been, in the mix for a little while. But I think you feel good for Geno Smith. But as a unit, the Giants, Giants, Dolphins are feel-good stories.
So, like, the teams in the NFC that I see making the playoffs would be the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants right now. That's 3. The Vikings would win the division. That's 4. No one else in that terrible ass division. The Buccaneers, no one else in that division. That's 5. And then the 49ers 6 and Seattle 7. Okay. And I would put the Niners as the second best team behind the Eagles right now. I think the Cowboys are the third best team, man. Like, I think the Cowboys are better than the Seahawks. I think the Cowboys are better than Minnesota.
They lost yesterday, though.
I mean, because they're the Cowboys, so anything could happen.
I feel like you overrated the boys.
Right, but that's the Cowboy dynamic. On paper, they present as, this, but the end of the season, they show you that they're still a hit.
The problem for the Cowboys in Minnesota is the same problem. Like, in the playoffs, they nut up. With Minnesota, dog, like Minnesota beats Buffalo, they go to 8-1, and people still don't believe in them. You know why? Because Kirk Cousins is their quarterback.
Yeah. They're trying to give him his flowers, man, because they said if with the playoff slate that you just described,
Man, the people are wrong all the time. There's plenty
They
of
should
people. There's
should
plenty of
give
QBs
Justin
that have
Jefferson
won
his
Super
flowers.
Bowls that didn't have people's approval.
Give Justin
But
Jefferson his flowers. Carried that team on
what
his
they
back.
said is if Kirk Cousins, if the playoffs started today in the NFC, the slate that you just described, yeah, you got Brady. If they make it, probably make it, but you know, if Bucks make it, you got Brady, and then the next best quarterback might be Cousins.
In the NFC,
Yeah.
you've lost your mind. Jalen Hurts is better than
I'm telling you what they
Cousins.
said. I'm telling you what they said. They said
He's
that
better-
Cousins
he's
might
better
be
than
the
Dan,
next
close they
best
tab.
quarterback.
Close they tab.
I think Geno Smith and him are about equal at this stage.
Geno and who?
And Kirk Cousins.
No, man. Geno and Kirk Cousins don't do Kirk
This
like
year,
that.
dog, Geno
Don't do
Smith has
Kirk
been
like
incredible
that.
this year.
He's been
Geno's playing better
good.
than Kirk this year.
He's been
He's played
good,
way better than
but-
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, like,
All right.
I feel like you might be trying Geno a little bit.
Dog, you know, let me
No,
give you
I'm
the
happy for
quarterback-
Geno,
let
and
me
that's
give
your
you-
boy.
Let me give you the sentence you didn't think I would be telling you at this stage of the year. Geno Smith has been better than Tom Brady. Geno Smith has been
Yeah.
better than Aaron Rodgers. Geno Smith has been a million times better than Russell Wilson. Geno Smith has been a top, I don't know, 10 quarterback in the NFL easily this year. This year, Geno Smith is a top. He's been better than Derek Carr.
Yes.
Tell me I'm wrong, dog. Tell
Like,
me
you ain't
No,
got to
no,
shoot
no,
at my
you know-
Raiders,
hasn't
bro.
been better than all those guys.
You're not
You
wrong.
ain't got to come for the Raiders, man. Your list was fine.
Tell me he hasn't been better than all those guys.
You
I
could have
can't.
stopped your list 2 players ago, bro. You ain't have to come for the Raiders, man.
No, the Raiders suck. The Raiders suck.
Well, all right. And then the AFC, dog,
Damn. That
you
was
got,
painful.
I think the AFC comes down to the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs and the Bills.
Period.
You're
With
disrespectful.
Miami Dolphins being the third team for me in the AFC and being a very dangerous third team. If I'm the Chiefs or Buffalo, I want to avoid Miami. I don't want to beat Miami and the other team. I just want to avoid Miami. I want the other team to take them out for me, or I only want to be able to have to take out Miami. Miami could beat you on any day because their speed is better than your speed. The fastest team in the NFL.
They look, man.
The problem is the
I've been
defense.
living down here a long time.
I don't
and
believe
this
in
is
the
football
defense.
country. And that being said,
You
for as
said
much
what?
as it is football
You said
country-
Miami's football country?
Yeah, I did.
Miami's football country in terms of the players, not in terms of the stadium. Have you seen the University of Miami
The com-
games?
The
No,
community,
that was- that-
the
when I say
citizens,
football
the
country, that fact
citizens.
doesn't factor in.
Yeah,
For
Well,
me.
the
that
citizens.
definitely factors in.
Right? For me, it's the culture of football, how young we start them, how much we go year round, the involvement, the emphasis. I remember just over an Optimist rivalry, I saw family members not talk to each other for a whole week before North Dade Scott Lake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I've
that
seen
was-
uncles come
yeah,
to
that was
brothers
real.
come to fisticuffs at some of these. I'm just talking about a certain culture and like, dude, you can still find a 40-year-old that runs under 5 seconds in a 40, like easy.
Shout out to Scott Lake Vikings. Shout out.
You know what I'm
Terrell
saying?
Owens.
Yeah. So like, so the fact that in
That's
my football lifetime, the Dolphins have not achieved, or the Dolphins have consistently failed to achieve the highest level of football success. It's a different kind of energy is starting to bubble over here, and it's to the point where
Is it?
people are afraid to speak on it because they don't want to jinx it. Like this
The
is
problem
believe
for
the,
the
it.
Dolphins, dog, is the defense. Do you think the defense is a championship caliber defense? Or they don't even need to be championship caliber because the offense is so good. They just need to be average. They give up way too many points. It's going to put too much stress on the offense.
I see the potential for them to get stronger, actually, but I see them at the minimum be able to survive if they could execute and implement that bend but don't break mentality to complement what they have on offense.
Tua looks outstanding. Cheetah is amazing. Waddle, dog, the whole offense. I love the offense. So
The
I got
offense is high powered.
Chiefs,
High
Bills,
powered.
Dolphins would be my top 3 AFC teams.
Dog, so you don't put any weight on the head-to-head, dog?
Who?
They
Between
ran
who?
the fade and the Bills lost. They call hands. Why can't the Dolphins surpass the Bills on your list? They had the head up and the Bills lost, right?
Well, it depends to me. Like, well, one, they're gonna run it back in Buffalo. Two, if
And
Buffalo,
you think this dysfunctional ass Bills team is in a position to get it back on the rematch right now?
They are on the struggle bus a little bit.
They're struggling. I wouldn't say they're dysfunctional.
No, I think Josh Allen is going through some Shaquille O'Neal type mental shit with his game right now. This last 3 games looking like poop emojis.
I mean, to me, but in all those games, they should have won the game. In all those games, they had those games won.
You know,
and
the word shit is always a red flag for me, bro.
They've looked like shit in those games, but they've still had those games won, which to me speaks to their talent. The other thing with the Dolphins are, if the Dolphins don't win the division and the Dolphins don't get home field, are they going to be able to go out into the cold in Buffalo in the winter and get that W?
Craig, what say you?
I think if they could keep the spread the ball around philosophy mentality going, that helps. Like if you got, I think it helps as opposed to like you got some workhorse people that got to go take the pounding and give the pounding in the cold the whole game. I think the disbursement of the ball helps to mitigate that. I don't think it's a solution for it. I do think they could do it. I think what the Dolphins are showing, and I'm going to give credit, like we ran the fade and we beat you. You caught my hands. I expect to beat you next time. They should feel that way, especially since the games in between, they've been whooping people ass. It's not like
they should
we
be real
beat
confident.
you in the fade and then we've been playing crappy. I got you in the 1v1 fade, and I've been beating up on other people. So yeah, I think I could beat you again.
But when the playoffs come around, dog, this one game that they play is going to mean nothing, especially when they play again in Buffalo. Anyways, it's like Buffalo beat Kansas City this year in Kansas City. So does Buffalo feel like they have one up on Kansas City, even though Kansas City can be like you've never done this against us in the playoffs?
No, because their last few games have been trash. Like I said, not only did I beat you, but since I beat you, I've been beating everybody else pretty much.
But that's like
it's not like I beat you and then I've been struggling.
That's like the moment right now. Like both teams' record is what? The same record, correct?
Uncle Mo.
Who are we talking about?
Buffalo and Miami.
Which teams?
Buffalo and Miami. They're both 6-3, I believe.
Keep going. I'm pulling it up. Keep going.
Thank you.
Both the same record. They'll both play each other again. Who do I think is the more talented team between the two? I think both offenses are amazing. Tua's been really impressive this year. I just think Buffalo's defense is better. Can you say you
Buffalo
trust
6-3, Miami 7-3. So it's a difference of a bye week, I guess.
Miami's up essentially
half a game.
66.7% versus 70%.
Yeah, Miami's essentially up maybe you could say even a game because they beat them in the head-to-head right
True
now.
True that.
So
all right. Well, it made a couple points. One, comeback, stats is facts, right? Geno is the better quarterback. All his stats, rating, yards, percentage, touchdowns, interceptions,
easily
supersede Kirk Cousins.
South Florida.
So I roll that back. So I have some bias. So I say I'm happy for Geno, but I have some Geno bias because he also was the reason they benched Eli. And it ain't his fault. But that was that's an unforgivable
fans, boy.
Carlton has a problem with the black quarterback.
Here we go.
If it's him versus Eli, if it's any of them or Eli, you are right.
Carlton was like, Lamar Jackson should be a receiver. He should be a receiver, goddammit.
How's that going?
But you made another point in
Catching.
the Kansas City Buffalo game. This is like the first season to know what these matchups mean, to have all the confidence that both of these teams are going to be in the playoffs. This was the first time it felt like like this is legit exhibition. Like it matters, but we just feeling it out. I think Buffalo, Miami, because of the division dynamic, means something different. The Jets beating Buffalo, the Miami beating Buffalo, all that matters because that could have implications on several things. But Kansas City versus Buffalo did feel like it was just a test. Y'all got this one. We'll see you in the playoffs. And it isn't indicative of what's going to happen in the playoffs, but it also shows that we can get you on one end, but on the other end, it's just like y'all got this one. It's just exhibition. We'll be back. So this was the first season where I felt I think it's several games like that, but this was the first season for whatever reason that I really see a lot of these regular season games for potential playoffs teams is, just exhibition, just kind of feeling each other out, because at the end of the day, playoffs is always, as we know, a new season. And, it could be one hiccup left or right determine the outcome of the game.
I got some.
Go ahead.
Okay, in regards to head-up matchups, sometimes that could provide you a psychological boost, right? No confidence knowing that a task was accomplished before, especially if it was accomplished in a certain fashion, all right? Plus, you wind up getting a certain amount of tape, unless their personnel changes drastically since then. Both sides get tape, but, you kind of have especially if you beat them before, you get a good formula. So I put a lot of weight in the head up. I also put a lot of weight into chemistry. I could see a world where I can see the argument that, that the Bills could be argued that they're more talented on paper, especially defense. I agree with that part more. But, all right, the parts are talented, but chemistry is what makes a team perform at a level greater than the sum of their parts. So I would make the argument that, yes, in the rematch, we could still say you might want to make the argument that they have more talent, particularly on one side of the ball, than the Bills, but I just feel like the Finns got a better chemistry / culture going right now, and that allows them to be, you know what I'm saying, better than what they look like on paper. And what they look like on paper, you already admitted is dangerous.
But dog, you think it's only about Buffalo? Like, I don't think Miami's better than Kansas City.
Oh, well, I was just speaking to that rematch. So yeah, but as far as the Kansas City, that's another combo.
But the interesting part about Kansas City is I believe Miami actually on offense has more talent than Kansas City. It's just that Kansas City has Mahomes. They have Andy Reid.
They got Mahomes and Reid, yes.
They got Mahomes and Reid. So Buffalo, to me, has the most talent. The most cohesive team to me right now is Kansas City. Because
that's a whole different matchup right there. I think that'll be a better game.
Is better than Miami's, in my opinion, right now.
Repeat that last one. I'm sorry.
I said their offense-defense combination is better than Miami's to me right now.
When you said that they in that last sentence is Kansas City, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a better matchup, Finns versus Kansas City than Finns and Bills. I personally see the Bills as a team who is they're backsliding right now, man. I think Josh Allen is in his own head. I think we're not done seeing the turnover machine and the hasty mistakes or maybe a couple reckless things. I think it's going to be really hard for him to get out of his head the performance he had yesterday. It's going to be hard for him not to objectively put the blame, a lot of it, on himself. There are too many.
He should.
I mean, but he owned that.
It's gonna get here.
Fine, man.
You could just because you own it don't mean it
fine.
don't mean it don't linger in your head.
I think they need to. I think Buffalo needs to run the ball more. And there's ebbs and flows to the seasons. It's a lot of game to play. God willing, creek don't rise, everybody stay healthy. It's a lot of football left. Because I just pulled up the Dolphins schedule. They got the Texans, say la vie. They got, after the Texans, got the 49ers, Chargers, Bills, Packers, Patriots, and they finished the season with the Jets, and the Jets already beat the Dolphins. Granted, two of them play, so there's a different team.
You see my point about that head-to-head? Do I think the Jets are better than the Dolphins, though? I do not.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of football still to be played. I think
You're right.
Buffalo is
That's
Buffalo. And I think regular season aside, Josh Allen, MVP, whatever, if it plays out aside, stats, numbers aside, Buffalo has a playoff problem. Couple decades ago, they had a Super Bowl problem. And so that monkey is still going to be present. And so regardless of who their biggest opponent is themselves in the playoff based on Buffalo history. So we got to see, they got to get there. And we got to see, we'll see how it unfolds. All right.
run it.
So transition now from sports to Are You Entertained? What have you gentlemen been watching?
Nothing, dog. I've been tired. And when I get a chance, like Craig just said, I've been watching sports and cartoons.
Oh, what cartoon?
Bluey, Spidey and Friends. A lot of Spidey and Friends. A lot of Mickey Mouse.
Which is your favorite? What's your favorite?
Spidey and Friends a lot, man. Spidey and Friends is really a dope cartoon, in my opinion. I like it a lot. I recommend it.
When I say it like this, I was glad when my son grew out of the Nick Jr. phase. That was tough on your boy. Made do with Dora the Explorer and Pepper the Pig and some of those, but it was tough. But what he ain't about none of that life no more. So I just put that out there. But where he got me to, and I was disappointed that he transitioned from, is I love me some Teen Titans, man. I watched that on my own. I watched the Teen Titans on my own.
Too. I saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever as well.
That's my addition. I did see it. It's been less than a week, so I don't want to offer any spoilers. But I guess without telling plot, etc. How did you feel about it, Mo?
Oh, it was well done, man. Like, I enjoyed the movie. I thought they did a great job of walking the delicate balance of paying their respect. There's emotional tear-jerker scenes. I thought it was just well done. They did a great job of just paying respect, Carlton, but also moving the franchise forward.
I didn't know how they would do that.
That was the balance they needed to walk. And I believe he did a masterful job of that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the movie. Me and my wife both enjoyed it.
I didn't cry. I was maybe because I was totally prepared to. I am not afraid of my tears by any means. So it didn't take me there. But they did a good job, told a good story. And I didn't know how they would do it. In fact, I probably wasn't confident that they could, but they definitely have moved the franchise forward. So whether there's a 3, 4, 5, 6 Black Panther, I thought maybe at this point they might, take it to the streaming service to, tease out some more detail with some characters. But however it went, Chadwick, we miss you. That's going to linger for a minute for me. His passing, because of just the artist that he was. I just thought we had gotten one. You have every generation has that star that takes their craft, takes what the craft can be to another level. And I think for many of us, Denzel, there's nothing. Denzel is Denzel, but I felt like Chadwick was kind of the next in line with the range of the roles he could play: action, adventure, mystery, police officer, biopic, Jackie Robinson. So, to not get that from him anymore, that's tough. But life continues.
I want to share, without planting an evil seed, but I still want to be authentic in my thoughts and why one of the reasons I was like, nah, I'm not going out this weekend to go see it. One, I have every intention of seeing it. One, in general, I don't like the crowds in the middle of the hype machine. I don't want to, it's a big weekend. Everybody's going to be there. I don't want to be there. So that's already on my mind, right? That's already part of my default setting nature. But then and you could say I'm tossing you an alley-oop on this one. One of the thoughts was on my mind is, in these times, with these sick, predatory, racist people, did I want to be trapped in a theater knowing that there's people that want to off people by the masses? You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt, I hate the fact that that was on my mind, and that was actually a part of my decision making. I was like, you know what? You could miss the hype. I go another weekend. I just feel like this would, I hate the idea that I thought that somebody would ruin this event by tainting it with, and I didn't want, out in my head, I was like, yo, I hate the fact that I thought of it. In my head, I was like, it'll be just my luck. I go catch this movie and somehow get jammed up in there. Somebody, you know, somebody at the entrance keeping us from getting out, letting off shots. Hate to say that it crossed my mind, but it did.
See, because dog, that is a
Mo.
legit concern, and I agree with you, that being a very legit concern, but I just refuse to let shit like that like control my life and have me live.
You see how hesitant I was to share that
too. And because dog, I put in thoughts like that when we go places that are crowded all the time, but it's just like, I don't want, you know, I just want to live life. Like, I just want to enjoy certain things. But like Craig, I agree with you. I've given thought to that. I go to places.
I hate that I'm
always looking for like, where's an exit that I could get out if I need to get out quickly.
I'll pay extra for the seat I want if it gives me a tactical advantage.
Oh yeah, I'm always,
and I will bounce
for,
if
like,
I can't get it.
You know, ways to position my wife so they could take her as a hostage so I can get away. I'm just playing.
Somebody's on
no. You know, Craig, I don't think you should hate it. I thank you, one, for sharing it. I don't think you should hate it. I think it's the reality in which we exist. I mean, I think it's a mistake to think that being vigilant, I think it's a mistake to believe there's no value to being vigilant. My talk, you know, upbringing, you know, coming up, Miami 305, you know what it was. We were 12 years old, knowing how to keep our head on a swivel, reading the room, reading the environment, sensing the energy, whether this was someplace we needed to kick it or not. And so all that seems to have transpired is what I hope to have left in my past has paved its way forward, but it's not just in my community. It's not just on the block that might be hot. It's reality. It's the grocery store, it's the churches, it's the post office, it's the movie theaters, it's sitting in your car in traffic. You know, if you cut somebody off today, everybody got guns. So you get into a mishap, that could be your day.
And the highest level of functioning is to resort
and
there.
So,
I got you.
I think it's, you know, and shout out to Dr. Robert Nobles. He was on Conversations with Carlton. Go check it out. He talked about our risk profile specific to COVID and whether you should mask, not mask. So I take that to say it's predicated on your risk profile. You know, movies, for me, my family, that's our jam. That's our thing. And so, as Mo said, I'm choosing to experience life, hoping that we continue to live as we, you know, doing this thing.
Carlton, that's what
the
sad part, though. And I agree with him on
really
that.
On the movie.
It is.
No, but I agree with Craig on, it's not about, like, you should always be vigilant. It's not that you should feel guilty about that. It is sad to think, whether you're going to the movie or you choose not to, it's sad that there's a thought in your head that some psycho that could have an assault rifle and decide to shoot up the movie. It's like, that's like, you shouldn't feel stressed out going to the movies with your family.
You shouldn't.
And my bigger fear,
here we are.
My bigger fear was the racist ideology that would lead to that, because I kind of feel like that's where we are, that somebody's going to think that's a great opportunity and a bright idea. Like, that's part of that.
Craig,
and I hate putting that out in space.
There's people that think shooting up a school is a bright idea and killing children.
Yes,
like,
but I'm addressing
get it.
But I'm directly addressing going to see the movie. And usually that wasn't, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the driving factor, and it was one of them. And you could add it to and say it's a decision-making breaking straw, because I'm already not hyped on football stadiums and movie theaters. I don't like paying 400% markup for my beverages, right? I don't feel the experience is that much better. We're at a point where, honestly, most movie theater experiences, barring certain 3D experiences, they're not as good as at home, and it's way overpriced.
If you're not,
and
sneaking,
I feel the same way about the football game.
If you're not sneaking your candy into the movie, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Sir, I'm way past
nobody
candy. I
should
have
be
curry
paying-
chicken with rice and peas.
That's what
I
I'm
need you
saying.
to understand.
You should be able to sneak a full dinner into the movie. If you're paying for the movie price food, you're doing yourself a disservice. But like Craig,
Retta, curry chicken in the movie theater,
this,
dog. I need
you're
you to
talking about
process
this
that.
movie because Black people are going to more than likely be there to see Black Panther. But look at the people in Buffalo. They were just going to their local grocery store.
Yes, but he also went out of his way to target a Black community for that particular grocery store.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you live in a Black community, are you supposed to stop shopping in the Black supermarket because you could get lit up?
No, I'm not looking at it from that perspective. I'm looking at it from a very pragmatic, logistical, tactical perspective. That's an easy mark, low bar with little security.
Yeah. My God.
I'm trying to be up. It's like, oh, this is easy as fuck. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Well, I did the same thing, and I realized I could give my wife up as a hostage, ensuring my safety.
You on that fuck around and find out scale tonight, huh?
I love you, baby.
I love you, know
baby.
what we
Baby,
need. She need to just run out of that room. That she come out of that room and pop him in the back of the head.
I love you, baby.
All right, so that's what y'all watch or not.
The more you find out.
That's what you watch or not watch. What y'all been listening to?
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be hard. I'm just gonna tell you the truth.
What y'all been listening to?
My wife said, "I hear you." I said, "I love you, baby." I hope you heard that part. God, so negative.
Turn the mic up, son.
So negative. You said, "What have I been listening to?"
What y'all listening to?
Whatever it is going to be on the couch here in the future. What have I been listening to? I guess you could say some comedy, man. I had the opportunity to go see Kevin Hart live with the Plastic Cup Boys. It was an excellent show. I would highly recommend it if you get a chance. So no spoilers, so I can't really share anything, but
okay.
It was definitely
all new material. Nothing, all new material.
Nothing I've ever seen before. So
okay.
I thought it was excellent. They wouldn't let us record, so I'm guessing this is going to come out on TV eventually. But yeah, if he comes to your town, it's definitely worth the price of admission.
All right. What about you, Craig?
All right. So it was what I'm listening to musically is the basis of that, right? Honestly, I can't say anything new.
Carlton, you know what Craig been listening to, Carlton? He been listening to the Lakers brick them shots off the back of the backboard.
Okay, so that actually helps me out, right? Because the sadness of trying to watch my Lakers and being on the East Coast, being a West Coast fan team, and I got to stay up late to take this abuse. Also, it being November, I got caught into this little whirlwind between November Rain and Sweet November, all the November ballads and rock songs and whatever. I've been trying to put together a November playlist. And I find that by and large, a lot of November songs are sad as Friday. And so, yes, it does kind of, yes, a lot of them were collected while watching my team underachieve.
What is their record now?
They only have 3 wins. The problem for me with the Lakers
shall not be spoken of by
Carlton knows this. I great joy out of watching the Lakers struggle, especially the Lakers with LeBron. But I don't need them to be as bad as my Magic now. Like, we're trying to get this French boy, this French kid.
Mother sucker.
So
no,
I don't want the Lakers because Doc, because everybody here
you
knows
wasted
this.
enough.
If the Lakers are close to like in the top 3 and they have equal amount of lottery balls as the first 2 teams, everybody knows the NBA wants this kid to go to LA. So I
Mhm.
don't even want LA close
All
to
right,
this
conspiracy
because
theorists.
this collusion.
You also deny elections. What are we talking about here?
Oh, the election was stolen from Donald Trump. That was clear.
What are
and
we
evident.
talking about? I'm hearing
That was
conspiracy
clear and
theories.
evident, man.
Oh, you've been hanging out with
You know,
Alex?
Doc, you know what's crazy about these election assholes is like they'll win the governorship in the state but lose the Senate race. They'll tell you the election is rigged, but not for like the governor's office. How? If it's rigged for the Senate, then it has to be rigged everywhere. How is it not rigged for the governor? Because
I'd like to throw the number 8.5 out there from earlier.
If you lose, it's cheating. That's not
8
a
out of 10.
legitimate. That's crazy, dog.
8
What'd
out
you
of
say,
10.
Craig? 8 out of 10.
8
what?
out of 10. 8 out of 10 people that you cross paths with every day, they're intellectually lazy. That's the answer to that. It just
Yeah,
not stupid.
I agree with
on
Craig
some-
because if you think about it from that perspective, dog, it's illogical to think. It's illogical to think that they rigged the election to only win the Senate and lose everything else.
Yeah, there's
100% right.
there's intellectual lazy, there's cognitive dissonance.
Dissonance.
It's
and they're both at play.
But there's also
psychosis.
seeking out the information that feeds into the narrative that you want to believe.
Yeah,
That you want to
that
believe.
too.
Dog, you know why like Twitter is such like a powerful place or a dangerous place to me? It's because you could believe anything, dog. You could believe
And
anything
you find
you want
something
to believe.
that supports it. Yep.
Yes, and you'll find not only that, you'll find confirmation, affirmation.
Mhm.
You'll find a bunch of losers just like you that believe whatever garbage you believe. And then you start thinking, this is reality. I am right.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with
Well,
that. I'm still working on that.
Have any of you listened to Nas King Disease 3 that came out Friday?
No, I
I
have
told
not.
myself
Check
I was
that
gonna
out.
do it as a 3-pack. Like with a movie, you go see the first two before you go see the new one. So I told myself when I get the time to, I'm gonna put them all on the same playlist and go from 1 to 3. That's how I want to experience it.
I have 1 and 2 on the playlist. I wanted to spend some time with 3 before I added it to the playlist, but I feel you on that.
Yeah,
What about you, Mo? You heard it yet?
No, I have not.
All right. Well, check it out. I still, of the 3 of the series, King Disease series, I like the first one still the most. That Ultra Black, like that might just have to be one of the, the top songs in my lifetime. But it asked me, it raised the question to, I think all 3 of us are Nas fans or at minimum respect Nas. So, I said Ultra Black, but what, if you had to pick one, if you can pick one, what's your favorite Nas song?
Oh, shit. I mean, I could definitely give you my favorite Nas verse. My favorite Nas verse is, I'd have to
Song,
think about
not
song,
verse.
though.
Song, not verse. Song.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Think about
I'd
the
have to
song. What's
think.
your favorite Nas verse? I'm with you. Go ahead.
Nas's verse on Raekwon's "Only Built for Cuban Links" on Verbal Intercourse is a filthy verse, and that's one of my favorite Nas.
Why
verses.
you do that though?
That's one of my favorite Nas verses.
I see. You gonna make me abandon my November playlist and go listen to that Cuban Links album?
You probably should, because if it got you in a funk. You already sad about your Lakers. You might as well, let the sweet November go. Go lift your spirits.
Yeah.
Go lift your spirits
That's
and your
definitely
consciousness.
probably my
Hey,
favorite.
I'm gonna
Nas
be
verse.
there
What
for
is
you
my
when this
favorite
Giants
Nas
thing
song?
comes crashing down, buddy.
I've been here before,
I would
man.
rather
I know what to
focus on the
do.
fact that we about to spank FSU ass in less than a week, but okay.
I don't want to talk about the Gators.
No,
I don't want to talk about
We
it.
gonna beat. We gonna no. Why not?
I don't want to talk about
We
the
look
Gators.
good.
And I'll acknowledge this, that he has better songs than this. But for me, personally, one of his songs that I absolutely love that that I relate to very much so is called If Heaven Was a Mile Away off the Godson's album. And that's probably my favorite Nas song. I love that song, man. I love
I
that
would
song.
have to choose, I am choosing Rewind off Stillmatic.
Yeah, Rewind's a dope song.
I'm going Rewind. It's a high
Stillmatic
concept
was
song.
just a great album, man.
99% flawless.
Everyone remembers Ether as a diss song off that album, but Destroy and Rebuild.
Ether was fire.
Destroy and Rebuild was he came for them boys on Destroy and Rebuild.
So I'm interested. I'm impressed. You said not impressed because I know you know what you're talking about. So Rewind, is not my favorite, but I would put Rewind almost in its own music category. Like what he did on Rewind just is unmatched, right? Like it doesn't.
It's a flex.
That defies kind of music logic. He went out there. But my favorite is on the same album, and it's One Mic. Like, me, both of y'all know Pac versus Biggie. I choose Pac, not because I think Pac is a better lyricist, Biggie lyrics, etc. Nas has better lyrical songs and tunes. But when I hear something that gets me fired up, that gets me ready to take on anything that the world might throw my way, when I play that One Mic and the way he crescendos up and down, and the way he and the background and even the music video when we was watching videos more regularly. So I think whenever I think Nas and the whole catalog that I enjoy, and I like to just play it and just in zone to him, for me, I always go back to One Mic.
Gotcha.
I always go back to One Mic. Mm-hmm. All right. So what y'all been reading?
Oh, smart people do that. I don't read. Clearly, I'm not smart anymore. I told myself I wanted to read. I bought. I ain't opening. I ain't gonna.
Man, you breaking down during the break. You were breaking down Tesla's number 9. Come on, man. You reading something?
8 of the 10.
Well, like I don't.
You reading something?
Well,
let me say it different.
I guess
you
it
know
like
something.
It wasn't like in this format. So like I am reading, but I'm getting. I'm PDFing and that kind of thing. So it's like
that's fine. What you reading? You might be reading the stars. What translated?
Well, okay. I've been going down the rabbit hole of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, otherwise refers to as Tesla numbers. That has been, and how that and the connection between that and what's otherwise acknowledged as a Fibonacci sequence. I've been kind of playing with the numbers on that respect, in part to present to my students something to think about. In other part, just because, numbers are the language of science. It's the way we measure and play with it, measuring it and represent different facets and aspects of the universe. So I kind of been on that. Trust me, it doesn't make my dating profile any sexier, but it is what it is.
They're lost. That's
what
cool out there is probably better that way. She'll find you. That's all. Don't worry. She'll find you. What you been reading?
And the other thing in that is the dividing, when a number is divided by 7, barring it's not a multiple of 7, the pattern of numbers that repeats also never include 3, 6, and 9, though they repeat into infinity. And I thought that overlap and not overlap was equally fascinating. So there we go.
You have to take me through that offline. I don't have enough.
Gotcha.
I process a little slow. Once I get there, I'm there. But
I know, bro. Hey, man,
I need a little time.
You know what I'm saying? There's a short list of people.
Once I got it, I got it. Once I got it. But it's just a little journey to get there. What you been reading, Mo?
I've been reading a lot about British mercantilism and the origins of Georgia as a British colony, and how these things eventually contributed to an explosion in slavery.
Okay. An explosion. Ugh. Strong word. Okay. Well,
Georgia started off as a colony in its charter that actually started off with the intention of not having slavery.
So what happened?
Well, the people in the colony became malcontented and jealous of their neighbors in South Carolina that had lots of slavery and business was booming. So eventually, the king takes over the colony. The king wants more crops anywhere because they can't grow these crops in England. He opens it up to slavery, and Georgia goes from not having slavery to being one of the biggest slave states.
Okay. So I'm one chapter away from completing The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. Shout out to the AHA community. That's the book group. Short, sweet of it, I would say, The Way of Integrity, she incorporates the historical masterpiece of Dante's Inferno in the dialogue, but really attach integrity being our truest self, our most natural way of being that honors ourselves holistically, mentally, spiritually, physically, but not integrity, good and bad, not integrity, I ain't gonna take out your pocket, all of that relevant in integrity, but not just the integrity like Daniel Snyder integrity that we talk about. More integrity like that there of a airplane is the example she uses in the book, in the aspect that you want your airplane in full integrity if you're going to go on that cross-country flight. That's what all the checks for. That's what all the mechanics checking the mechanicals are for. And so if you look at yourself, take some of the emotion, the self-judgment out of it and just kind of look at yourself as an entity. What is your integrity? Are you eating right, sleeping right, exercising right, taking in the right, information that benefits you? Are you establishing personal boundaries so that, as you get into Tesla's numbers and decide that, you want to mix and mingle with the women's out there, and are you honoring who you are and ensuring that she has respect for you and your Tesla's numbers and all those things? So the way of integrity, so the way to your integrity, and she aligns it with Dante's Inferno, which in essence is a journey. And so the way to your integrity isn't something that you snap and do, it's a journey. But emphasize, she gives perspective through truth telling, stopping the lying to self, stopping the lying to others about meaningless things, paving your way to your truest self so that you can live, breathe, and exist in joy and be a light for others to find their way to integrity. So shout out again to the AHA community for allowing me in to, partake in the weekly discussion. Great book. And so if you're on a journey to self, if things aren't necessarily how you think they should be in your world and your experience, definitely a book I recommend checking out. All right, on that note, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Unsolicited Genius. Thank you for tuning in, watching us, listening to us. Always appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere that your podcasts find, Apple Podcast, Spotify. So stick with us, check us out. Shout out to the sponsors, Legacy Wear. Your legacy awaits. You can find them at www.legacywearus.com. Megacore CBD, broad spectrum hemp-derived CBD, the way nature intended, at megacorecbd.com. And Aura Rainwater, hydrate and elevate, www.aura rainwater.com. All right, before we get out of here, any last thoughts, comments, words for the peoples? Uncle Mo, start with you.
Love y'all, man. Please be safe out there. Vote. If there's a runoff where you live, make sure you get out there and vote.
To the people, one love, stay safe. To y'all, my brothers, every once in a while, without dropping too much, I'm trying to do a little bit. Well, let me ask you this, because I'm on a different path with like fasting, prayer, meditation myself. What are your thoughts on fasting? And has it ever worked for you? When was the last time you tried it? If you've been trying to get into it this week, we come back to it. But I kind of want to hear the thoughts on that little, anyone or a combination of the three: fast, pray, meditate.
So I'll start with fast. So fasting, I've done for two scenarios. One, when my digestive just ain't right, or, you know, at the golf weekend a few weeks ago or a couple months ago with the boys, you know, we was out there hanging. And so that's when I realized drink some water, take a break on some food. And depending on what's going on, you know, I'll just do it for the day. I'm not engaged in the intermittent fasting in terms of, you know, weight gain, stuff like that. I think there's relevancy to it, there's dynamic to it. I need to learn more about it before I apply it in that way. But, you know, listening to my body, kind of keeping up with how I've been eating and how I've been treating it, that'll drive that one particular type of fast. But when the boo-boo is hitting the fan, fear has found its way into my psyche, and or, you know, something big is coming up, I will do, you know, the prayerful fasting predicated on a day, a couple days, Catholic boy, you know, during Lenten season. So I'll do a fast, a spiritual fast in that regard. There probably is opportunity for me to do it more consistently, not just when things hit the boo-boo hit the fan, but in terms of the past, that's how I've done it. Meditation, that's more of a daily thing, not every day. I even say in the last couple of weeks, just with my, you know, coming and going and traveling and stuff, I haven't been as consistent, but it's, you know, to have incorporated into my life a few years ago, I'm able to get back to it. So for me, meditation is a daily thing. And what I found is that if nothing else, it slows the world down and allows me to assimilate my thoughts and ideas from a place of alignment versus a place of chaos.
Heard.
And you said one more, and prayer, that's you know, that's it. That's my weapon of choice, the tool that I will constantly use. So morning, noon, night, before me and my family leave the house, whether we're going to the grocery store, to the movies, taking my son to school, we'll pray. We'll get together, do a daily reading, kind of pray with that reading. So prayer for you, for me, for us, for them. I write my prayers down. I got a prayer book. So prayer is a constant in my existence. Of everything, that's the thing I do all the time, multiple times a day.
Heard that.
On that, let's close the show out. So in What Are You Read, I mentioned Martha Beck's Way of Integrity. And so, you know, I thought that, you know, one of the things that she talks about that really kind of shifted my perspective on me, but also kind of explains some of the energy that we hear and see in the world around us. She talks about the term era of righteousness. And so in her book, what she says is, when our righteous mind is in control, we lose the way of integrity and become weirdly, obviously self-contradictory, like proponents of world peace who advocate war against anyone who disagrees with them. Errors of righteousness are psychological mistakes we make when our rational rejection of the unfamiliar takes over our thinking. So my version in translating that is we choose to fight and destroy in our effort to be right and righteous. We talk a lot about some hot topics. It is a show full of opinions and perspective. Rest assured that the hosts of Unsolicited Genius wish no ill will on any human being on this planet. We believe in doing well by ourselves. We believe in doing well by others. And when we find or see circumstances, places, people, the things that don't align with that, we have comment about it. In talking about errors of righteousness, what she is saying is we know that there are bigots, but if you tell the bigot that you hate him, all you've done is reinforce his bigotry. We are this might be one of Brother Craig's words, but we are sentient beings that at our core love. We unlearn love. Uncle Mo's son just got here a couple years ago. To hear that boy, to see that boy, to be around that boy, he exudes joy and love. And Mo, his wife, his support system will ensure that not only that he remains loved, that he continues to do and exude love. When we fight for what's right, we're doing it based on love. But when that fight for what's right consumes us to the point where we devalue the value of another human being, we've gone too far. We have made an error in our efforts to be righteous. When you see an injustice, do what you believe to counter that injustice. Vote, write a book, start a podcast, protest, stand up. Use that anger in the moment to do good. Anger isn't bad. It isn't good. It just is. But like fire, you can either use it to heal or destroy. This has been another episode of Unsolicited Genius. We thank you all for joining us, hanging out with us on this Monday night. We'll see you again next week, same Genius time, same Genius channel. Peace.
You are listening to Genius. Craig D. Molat. You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.